And it is understandable. You and I, we collect our taxes, give to the state enterprises, and they just spend the taxes and start calling for more capital injection. Whereas their counterparts in the private sector, from industry to industry, if you take the telecommunications industry, if you take transport industry, you take housing industry, you take health services delivery industry, across all the industry spectrum, what you see is that private sector enterprises flourishing, generating profits, and paying dividend to the shareholder, who is the investor. But the same thing is not happening in the public sector space. This government shares the vision to turn the narrative around. Let me use the opportunity to educate all of us. When an enterprise, a company, is operating at losses, you assess the source of the losses. It may be market-driven losses. For example, you're operating in a COVID environment. Your Joy FM may say sack some people, or let them take half pay and survive the situation. But when you see loss reported, you won't go and fire the CEO, will you? Because the environment did not permit profitable operations. Similarly, the state enterprise also operates in an environment. So you look at the environmental analysis and make sure that that general problem is sorted, like the enterprise models its operations to survive in that environment first, before you can point an accusing finger of non-performance on the CEO and staff. How do you solve problem of corruption? That is, go after them. Rule of law. So go after them means that I should spend my energy. One maybe corrupt practice or a customer who has defaulted, I should be spending energy going after customers at court. 173 plus state enterprises. Can that be done? No. You say, I've told them, every state enterprise must implement real-time accounting system and real-time operational structures, because now we have the digital infrastructure that will enable one company see its operation from one computer screen, a laptop in front of the manager here, and see what is happening internally. Boko, who, Takrade. Do you understand? You use technology. And once you can efficiently manage real-time accounting, for example, will ensure speedy, audited financial statement delivery for decision-making, so far as the boards are concerned, so far as management team is concerned. So real-time accounting solutions, digitalization of their operations should be possible. Imagine the banks that hold in excess 100 branches. If they don't operate on digital platform, you withdraw money, but your account is debited. There's a screen somewhere. Are you getting? This is the direction you should go. It also checks corruption in a more efficient way than looking for a cane and chasing people around. No, we are so negative-minded and crack the whip. I personally believe in enterprise management to mean train the people to do it well, put in place the measures to avoid corruption. Do you understand? And fire the one who has been trained and still subvert the system to be corrupt. Do you understand? That is the level you go to crack the whip. But the person is sitting in an enterprise environment where the environment has caused the manager not to be able to even come out with his best, the environment. And then you are going to punish him for that? Do you understand? So first, you have to provide the environment for the person to be performed. It is at that level that you begin to crack the whip, when you have everything it takes for you to perform, and you are not performing.
Well, that is the man in the hot seat, the sector minister for state-owned enterprises, who joins the conversation this morning. We're talking about state-owned enterprises and making them efficient as they can be. That is what we're doing on the first belt of our big stories. I'm sure a lot of us have been concerned about our state-owned enterprises, and in recent times, a lot of talk about privatizing some of them. Well, we have Joseph Kudjo, the Honorable Minister, right here with us. Honorable Kudjo, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
And thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's dig right into it. What is the state of our state-owned enterprises? I saw something today in one of the papers talking about, in fact, it's right before me, that we ought to audit our policies since 1960. That's the government statistician. Now, you look at our state-owned enterprises from Nkrumah till now. We had rubber processing factories. We had, I think, in Bosso, we had the glass processing entity. We had Comenda starting in that period. Today, where is Comenda and all of that? So it is a matter of interest to all of us because the industrialization that we foresaw at the dawn of independence has not really panned out. So where do we find our state-owned enterprises today?
Thank you. But when you cited Bonsa Thai factory and cited Abosso glass factory.
Yes,
today,
the Abosso glass factory.
Today, the importation we do in terms of everything glass, somebody foresaw that the future is going to be glassy, and so we should have a glass factory because we have the raw material base in that area. Today, we don't have it at all because the initiative collapsed. We can list on and on, but the painful part is even when you take Samsung. When Ghana, they have started in Korea, and Ghana had also started it, Akasanoma brand. In electronics industry, automobile, we had also started our Adom and Boafo.
At a point, Sanyo was in the system, the Akasanomes,
Even Neoplan buses were being assembled in here, just like we starting with VW, Toyota and the rest.
Right, Nissan and the rest.
Nissan and the rest, yes. So we have not managed well our state-owned enterprises.
We've not managed them well?
No, we've not. Over the period that we've been independent from 65 years.
Because if you look at the number, even per my readings, the number under, let's even look at from Gaggisberg, okay, pre-independence.
Yes.
Because Gaggisberg also did quite a bit of work. I mean, look at Kolebu and others. So let's look at other entities, core entities, from Gaggisberg flowing into Nkrumah and then in the aftermath. And you would see that the performance has been abysmal. Nothing to write home about.
Very abysmal. We can, if you look at divestiture list, companies that have been divested, meaning state starts, collapses, and then gets divested. If you look at the list, and you get to know that the list is in thousands, then you realize how we haven't, the extent to which we haven't managed well our state-owned enterprises. So today, the president carries a different vision to deal with this issue. And the president is doing two things. First, private sector owned, fully owned enterprises under a program called 1D1F. But the state is also participating in some critical sectors of the economy. And to complement what private sector is doing, this initiative to deal with the mismanagement of state-owned enterprises, which has characterized our history, is doing institutional restructuring to provide the necessary framework to solve the problem. Problems get better solved when the environment, I keep saying, the environment and the structures have been put in place. So we have today a minister responsible for public enterprises to focus attention on dealing with this historical problem. And the president's vision.
That's where you come in. That's where you come in.
That's myself as a minister. And then the president's vision also extends to the complete institutional alignment, when you see promulgation of SIGA Act 990 to establish SIGA in August 2019 to be the shareholder of state-owned enterprises, and then put above it a ministerial oversight, and then extend it to parliamentary oversight to come directly under the Parliamentary Committee on Employment, Social Welfare, and State Enterprises. That complete oversight, which runs from Parliament through institutional representation, the shareholder, SIGA, and then board of directors, and then management team to staff. That aligned oversight now mimics what happens in the private sector, which enables the private sector perform.
Has that alignment impacted efficiency and effectiveness? And I'll get to the 2020 report because we're counting our losses. Very few of our state-owned enterprises are making a profit. A lot of them have become liabilities. They've been albatrosses around our necks year after year, for some of them for decades.
Very good.
They're still on our books. So has this alignment you speak of done anything to better effectiveness and efficiency?
We're solving 65 years old problem. And SIGA Act came in 2019. Yes, so we'll see how the alignment has begun yielding results. But the first evidence I always provide is the fact that you and I are even sitting here talking about the state-owned enterprises in its plurality, as investment portfolio, talking about them in a whole, creating our references from a report, state ownership report. We are doing that today because since the government came in from 2017, consistently every year, we have published state ownership report. In 2017...
but this is not a novelty, is it?
Oh, it is.
A state-owned enterprises report is not a novelty.
A big novelty.
What is novel about it? Before your administration came into power, we had similar reports in the past.
If you show me a copy where there was a number of audited accounts and up to date, I would be happy.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
That just because there was no proper, maybe auditing per what you're doing now. But if these entities had not been audited, how could we have known that we were, incurring losses and all of that? Of course, that must have happened.
The novelty is now we consider this issue as an investment portfolio. We do not isolate. If ECG has been doing reporting, did you ever know the state had today, for example, has a coverage of 177 enterprises to look at? You didn't know. We were just pointing to bust. Those that goes into problem, they become news and it dies there. That is what we've been doing over the years. Nobody interrogates board issues, management issues, and governance issues. Nobody. We have had, don't forget, we have had State Enterprises Commission, but look at their, and then Diversity Implementation Committee. So state enterprises will be doing what they are doing.
And I was just about to ask you, what does the State Enterprises Commission be doing?
Let me end on. State enterprises will be doing what it's been doing, administering the performance contract, and then when it collapses, they pass on to Diversity Implementation Committee to divest. So you have this, it even creates a wrong impression that it means you are managing to divest when it collapses.
In other words, there's no plan.
That is the point. That's the point. So the novelty is the alignment that has been brought to bear on dealing with the problem, to provide a solution. So it's a novelty, and we should support it. We should support it, and I'm encouraged by the attention media is focusing on this subject matter. Next, it will be Parliament and open discussions on these matters. There are experts out there, even listening to us, who you will hear them contribute to the way forward, and then you pick snippets of ideas and get the system functional. Else, we will not provide solutions to the problems we have when it comes to the state-owned enterprises. So we should stay on course.
We bled over 5 billion Ghana cedis in 2020 per the report.
Yeah.
That is a gargantuan sum.
2019 report.
Yes. Of course, 2020 report on 2019
exactly.
Affairs.
Exactly.
And if you consider that we find ourselves in a place where we are considering, in fact, we have passed into law an e-levy that is going to give us now, because we started it much later in terms of the projections, we're going to start sometime maybe early this year or late last year.
Yep.
It didn't pan out. We're starting in May, and we've also reduced it from 1.75 to 1.5. The likes of Dr. John Kuma, Deputy Finance Minister, has told me that we're looking at between 4 and 5 billion Ghana cedis.
That's right.
Around the same region we've lost from our SOEs.
Yeah.
So maybe if our SOEs had been performing, maybe, just maybe, we wouldn't need to be here. How do you contemplate these losses? I mean, yes, over time we've incurred them, but after 5 years of being at post, and not you necessarily,
yes,
we're still at this point where we're losing up to 5 billion from our kitty on the back of non-performing state-owned enterprises.
I'm happy you said this context. Very happy because it makes me get the opportunity to explain corporate losses. When a businessman perceives the company as the corporate, as a businessman, when a businessman is in business, and you have assumed that the businessman will be in business perpetually, then incidents of losses have been part of businesses since man conceived business. I knew of losses when my mom, trading, would buy an item at a cost, and market conditions will cause my mom to sell it below the purchase price. And that did not mean her business is bad or that her wealth has come to an end. The next item she goes to purchase, from this experience, she makes profit. And so to the extent that the loss incurred, lessons learned from it, and next business made to succeed, you keep going. And losses are not also, I should say, loss is a loss. Profit is the opposite of loss. Okay.
Right.
Profit means you are selling above your cost.
At least you are breaking even and able to get some local fuel to manage your affairs.
In business, lot of businesses even start with planned losses that are on plan. That first year will incur a loss, second year will narrow the loss, third year, fourth year, fifth year will break even, and thereafter profit. So would you say because the first year will be loss until you reach a break-even point when your cost is equal to your revenue, until profit, you wouldn't go into that business? So we don't think in business.
Unfortunately, in this instance, where it becomes problematic is we've had over 64 years doing this, and over 5 years within this administration doing this. That is where the problem is.
No, that is not the problem.
That's where the problem is.
Let me tell you within the 5 years, what is happening.
Right.
There's a management principle that says you cannot measure, you cannot manage what you cannot measure.
Right. It must be measurable.
Exactly. Okay. Anything you want to manage, it must be measured. So when a government meets a situation where performance of companies are not being measured through audited accounts, that we have audited financial statement of companies, based on which you can make decisions going forward, how do you do it? In 2017, the situation met. Many companies haven't not prepared their accounts. In 2017, can you believe in a state ownership report, there were only 18 enterprises that were reported on. Only 18.
2018.
2018.
Right.
2017, 18. 2017, only 18. And then in 2018, this government causing them to get their financial statements up to date and audited, we got 49 reported on. And then 2019, still pushing in that effort, bringing him on board SIGA, and everyday attention as a shareholder's interest that you give me audited financial statement. 106 were reported on. The 2020 report we are looking at
Right.
were reported on 132. So if now, just within 4 years, we have reached the case where state ownership report can cover entities that can provide accounts, audited largely, unaudited and few management accounts, and then you have a report to look at and deal with the problem, then we are making very significant or serious progress in this matter.
You speak,
because,
right. No,
because we are now measuring, measuring the
right.
quantum. But even the losses, let me put the losses reported in 2020 in context. 2019, 5.16 or so billion, in excess of 5 billion Ghana cedis losses, reported by 106. 2020, 132, report 2.6. It tells you that the progress is even not on the absolute figures of 5 and the 2.6, because more companies have been reported on and yet less loss. Meaning that the management action...
That is the 2.16 billion.
The 2.6, yeah, billion. What I'm saying is that now it is 132 cumulative.
So I get your point. You're trying to say that now there are even more in the bracket, but the losses are shrinking. But losses all the same. Losses all the same.
As for losses...
So I get your point. But let me ask you this, maybe a fundamental question.
Okay.
When it comes to our state-owned enterprises, and I've heard talk of the fact that, maybe they are not even supposed to earn a profit. These state-owned enterprises, why do we set them up? Are they simply meant to try to break even? Are they supposed to make a profit? Or are they supposed to be incurring losses like we're seeing? What is the strategy?
Okay.
Can you share with us?
Let me share a strategy. Different countries use different strategies. But any solution that does not take into consideration, any business solution that doesn't take into consideration the culture of the people, end up being a bad business solution. In Ghana, we know that our culture in dealing with state assets are very bad. When I was crossing the railway, even railway down there, you can see how people are dealing with state assets. Encroachment, hugely. But that is that level. It is not at the state-owned enterprise level. The same people grow and become managers or caretakers of state assets. They carry the same culture to state assets. Are you getting me? You see street lights on out there that made by people and they don't care because it's state assets. It's the same cultural environment.
So you're talking about reckless and unprotective culture.
We don't care, yeah.
Right.
We don't care about when it is state. We care when it is ours as individuals. Are you getting me? So that's the kind of solution you prefer should be that. And then another environment we have is, and I'm talking about these two environments because we are dealing as a larger community, we are dealing with state-owned enterprise and prefer solutions to the problems we know.
Right.
Another environment we have is that situation where in our market and industries we create, if it is pure water industry, then you see association of pure water sellers. If it is donuts, association of donut sellers. If it is oil, association of oil marketing companies. Every trade or every industry, we create an association, and the association, the tendency is not to deliver competitive prices, goods and services for us. The tendency is to jack up prices to protect themselves. And the same environment, we do not have a strong consumer protection agencies or the private sector driving and advocating for consumer protection. So in a market environment like that, the culture and protection, that is profiteering by private sector. Excessive profiteering.
But we're running, you see,
yes.
we're merging a number of issues, but I just want to put these cards on the table. We're running either a capitalist or pseudo-capitalist regime in our country. That's exactly where we are. Private entities' profitability is not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm saying...
the state itself needs to find the balance for these organizations.
are 177. And in categories of first, we have SOEs, state-owned enterprises,
Right.
which are largely commercial and are expected to make profit. Enterprise, as in business, they are in one category. And then the 2020 report reports on 47 of them.
Right.
And then there is joint venture companies, which are entities where the government has part shareholding in them. And then we have other state entities, the authority, the commissions, which deliver some services like DVLA, SNET, Petroleum Commission. They are all also in another basket. Okay.
Are you saying that they are all in different baskets in terms of
as other state
their
entities?
profitability
No, they
related?
I'm segmenting or categorizing. The state-owned enterprise are expected to operate, make profit, write dividend check to government.
Right.
So that government will use for roads.
That's in the first category.
First category.
The 100 and what?
They are 100% owned by government.
No, but you gave a number to the number of entities in there.
47.
So those are the 46 that we have in the 2020
report.
Right.
Okay. Largely they are commercial. I said largely.
Right.
They are commercial.
So what are some of the entities in here? I know ECG is in there.
Yes.
Ghana Water Company Limited,
Exactly.
COCOBOT and others. All of them are in there.
COCOBOT would not be in there.
Because per the data we have, they were also in this.
No,
in this
COCOBOT are
categorization.
expected to be in other state entities.
Okay.
Yeah. But there are a lot in the state-owned enterprises.
BOST is in there.
Will be there. And then we have the joint venture companies.
Okay.
Which, like I said, like GOIL is a JV.
Okay.
Company, state has interest, private sector, and even less.
I know SNIT, for example, invests in
will
GOIL.
be, yes, SNIT is a
on behalf of Ghanaian pensioners and all that.
Exactly.
Right.
So, but SNIT is other state entities in that category. GOIL in joint venture. Okay. And BOST, 100% owned. BOST also shares, I think BOST rather has shares in GOIL.
Okay.
One of the joint venture companies was GREL. If you go to Western Region, Ghana Real Estate, Ghana has some small stake in it. So all these categories I'm saying, the JVs, profits expected, dividend check expected for government development agenda. State-owned enterprises, same.
Okay, so
other state entities like DVLA, the efficiency is needed. Financial sustainability is needed. Economy of its operations is needed.
So with these entities, this other group that you're speaking of, other SOEs, are they supposed to, the picture I'm getting is that they are supposed to break even, at least to be able to see to their day-to-day affairs. So internally generated funds to run their affairs so that they are not incurring losses for government to now have to step in and clear any bills.
You have it absolutely right.
All right.
DVLA, for example, you know the rule, the Land Commission. The services, you need efficiency so that they will interface the private sector to help the private sector deliver.
So I like the categorization and the explanation you are giving. So it means that, fine, so the DVLA and others, are there any, which others fall into that basket with the DVLA? Those who are just expected
to Lands Commission.
Lands Commission.
Take Registrar of Companies. I'm just mentioning
Registrar General.
Those, exactly. Right. Those critical ones that interface the private sector and every day supporting, or what they do, if they do it efficiently, private sector takes. They also do their best for the economy. So I'm saying the other state entities, their interface is with the private sector, and they are not to operate profitably. Are you getting me?
Right.
You won't say operate, but you say operate efficiently, financially sustainable, and be able to deliver the service.
Okay, let's take it basket by basket. Of course, we're on time leash, so I want us to address.
Very good.
Now, in this other category, the likes of the Lands Commission, DVLA, the Registrar Generals that you just mentioned, how have they fared under your watch. How have they fared in terms of performance, in terms of the efficiency you speak of, effectiveness?
Yeah.
How have they fared?
Under my watch, and it won't be my watch, under the government watch, the president, the vice president.
Right. I just wanted to narrow it down because we have you at Post and here with us.
For me, I'm advocating, but mine is a serious advocacy for the digitalization efforts by the vice president, the president, and the government.
Right.
Okay, the digitalization effort. I am saying that I'm adding real-time accounting systems so that the financial reports, press of a button, you print your financial statement for management decision.
Right.
So that is what we are pushing very hard. But under this government, I have personally experienced DVLA. When I drove in my pickup and I go there to renew my driver's license, they have segmented their customer base. They said they use the word prestige, just like banking do, prestige customers. And the prestige customers, when I walked through the door, I checked my time. It was 1:42 p.m. And when I walked through the door and I was directed to a desk, I paid. With my driver's license in hand, they took it, your card, Ghana card, they took it, and by 1:50, in 8 minutes, they were done. And I compare with earlier processes where you go to DVLA yard and you walk to a certain corner B to go and queue and take a picture of you. You walk to another corner, you go and fill some form. You walk to another corner.
So all of those have been dealt with?
Yes.
Right.
So I'm saying...
So those are the angles when it comes to effectiveness and efficiency.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But so in this context, I've been to the Registrar Generals, I've interacted with their head, for example, and they've spoken about some of these things still on the digitization and digitalization agenda.
Very good.
But moving away from that pot of other SOEs,
very good.
It means that the two other categories are supposed to turn a profit.
That's it.
So out of the pool of about 170 or so, I don't know how many are in the other category.
Other states, okay.
But let's say about 40 of them, more or less.
50.
So let's say 50 of them
reported on,
are in the other category.
Yes.
But then we have the core categories where the 46 are that we are reporting on now.
Yeah.
And then the others in the second category, somewhere in between.
Yeah.
It means that these two categories are supposed to more or less not only break even, but make a profit and give dividend checks, if you like, to the state.
Exactly.
How have those two categories performed?
They've done very well. Under the realignment that we have implemented. Done very well because most of them have reduced their losses. You know, trend-wise, they've been in steep losses, making losses. And for the past 4-5 years, they have been on the trajectory of turnaround, clearly. I can cite BOSS, can cite Ghana Publishing Company Limited. I can cite VRA. I can cite TDC. In fact, I can, but I'm saying when you go and see the trend, the
trend analysis,
it's very exciting. And it's refreshing to note that most of them have reached near break-even to turning into profitable operations.
So it's so exciting, but we're still seeing these losses. I mean, gargantuan losses.
Yes.
I understand. Yes, it's a bigger pool now, and like you said, we're incurring fewer losses, but it's still huge.
No,
and I know that some maybe, like you're saying, just about to break even, but there are some who may be bleeding badly.
No,
within those same categories.
Let me say, the board members, as I know, are very savvy. We've seen...
The board members are very savvy.
Exactly, they are good. Management team, CEOs, as I know, are very hardworking and very proficient in, competent in what they are doing.
Should hard work not be measured by the returns,
the financial performance,
the performance,
exactly.
the output?
Exactly, and that is why I'm saying performance is not only good, better, best, but sometimes worst, bad. And in this case, the bad performance is the best performance. So when you are in steep losses, and the manager goes in and cuts the losses, the person has done very well, and then further cuts the losses. You commend the person because the next moment turns the entity into profitability. That is what we should take note of.
Right.
So when we assess, we shouldn't just be lost on the negative figure. But what was it? And
so we should look at the past and where we've got to.
Exactly.
And at least know that there are some gains being made.
I always cite this example. When your kid is having a 10th position in class, and you put in all the measures for the kid to study, you want the kids to reach first position in ranking, and he ends up 5th in class. Would you chastise the kid? No, not first. When he comes second, would you chastise him? Won't you be happy that he or she is gunning towards the first position? You won't. So that is how, when it comes to performance, you look at performance assessment. That's how.
So when you look at the performance of an entity like the ECG, making quite some gains in terms of profitability, but at the same time, when you look at its liability pool and even the fact that it is owed by, and that's something I really want us to address, owed by a lot of state-owned enterprises.
Exactly.
The finance ministry itself has owed the ECG in recent times. KIA has owed the ECG. We have public institutions, some of them educational, like my own alma mater, the University of Ghana. Others, it's such a drain.
Tell them to pay you. Your alma mater, tell them to pay you.
Unfortunately, I do not have those powers. But when you look at the fact that even those that are performing, like ECG, also have such yawning debt to deal with, which handicaps them. You speak to them, they talk about the fact that they are not able to be more effective and efficient because of these other situations. Then it means there's a problem.
This is where my point comes in very handy. That you put a manager there, you put a board there, a management team there, and they have an environment where MDAs, ministry, departments, and agencies are not paying their bills and are making every effort to pay the bills. They haven't paid. What you need is the cash. That is one environment. Second, ECG is a price taker when it comes to its revenue line. That if you and I today can speak for them, that ECG, they buy energy, they buy the electricity from the power IPPs and from VRA. ECG buys from there and for distribution because they are in electricity distribution business. But they buy it at a higher price today because some government in the past signed expensive power purchase agreement. But ECG is unable to cover the cost as per purchase price of the electricity, its operational costs, and then put margin on it because the tariff set by PURC for them is making it difficult reporting profitability. Then my take is that if Ghanaians, we want ECG to report profit today, let's all agree that we will pay a little higher tariff. As soon as we agree on that, ECG is in profit the next 3 months. Simple. Are you getting my point? But you look at the...
Is that what ECG needs?
That is why
is that what ECG needs?
But
and I'm asking that question in context because now we know that both the Ghana Water Company Limited and the ECG are actually calling for some of that tariff increments.
And at the same time calling for profit. And then, with us public, these state enterprises are ours. So we want profit from them as per your voice, as I hear, and as per my position. I want profit from them. But I know that profit comes from revenue you generate, cost you incur, and then you add the cost and interest on loans you've taken or something, taxes, depreciation of the asset you've used to generate the profit and so on. And then the bottom line, whether positive or negative. And then we are complaining about the bottom line because it is negative. One easy solution is revenue. If UCG were to be like the iron rod dealer out there, he will adjust the price immediately and enter into profitability zone easily.
But for government business,
are you getting me?
state-owned enterprise,
are you getting my point?
It's not saying.
He will just adjust the price. Simple. The laptop seller here, when he's hit by FX.
Foreign exchange issues, right.
Exactly. At the snap of a finger, he will adjust the price. But UCG will be hit by FX to cause it to incur losses because the transformers cable conductor.
And I would have saved this for later, but
cannot adjust it.
How do we fix that?
How do we fix that?
How do we fix it?
Revenue line can fix it.
Because part of the problem is also, you're talking about the FX, part of the problem also has to do with our currency and how it's performing.
That's an environment. But what I'm saying here in FX is that the state enterprises are also hit by the same FX concern. But the private counterpart, which we tout so much as being profitable and we want to benchmark, adjusts the FX so they don't get hit so much by it. They are able to minimize its effect on them. Are you getting my point?
Mr. Kujo, so I just want to know, what do we do? Are you in support, for example, that we ought to be willing to pay more in terms of utility tariffs, for example? Because the Ghana Water Company Limited has told us over time that, look, things are not going well, and especially with the Galamsey issue and the problems with the cost of dealing with water and all of that. They've even said that if we are not careful, in some years and decades to come, we may have to import water. How do we deal with the reality? Should we as citizens be willing to pay more, even as side by side we try to make them profitable?
I am an advocate for paying the right prices for things. Everything. Right price. Ghana Water treats water at a cost. The risk we all as public incur is that if they do not have the resources, financial resources to buy the chemicals, to treat the water, and they compromise. They are compelled by circumstance to compromise on quality. The effect comes back to us as a public. So if we all have to swallow and pay right prices, just like when a private sector person increases price, we adjust and swallow. We should. So
in a nutshell, we should be more willing to support the SOEs by also paying more.
Right prices. Right prices for SOE services.
Would you say that you say the right prices? Would you say that currently we are not exactly paying the right prices for even less limited our utilities, water and electricity?
I will cite example to drive my point home. Anybody who has been to DVLA in the past until digitalization, you know, people are willing to pay, say, 2,000 to a certain guru boy. When out of the 2,000 in the past, just about 1,000 will go to the state. People were willing to part with the 2,000. But if the state were to charge the 2,000, there will be, how do I put it, uproar, for example. I'll cite another example. You go to land commission, people registering land, who are registering land, will be willing to pay a certain 2,000 to somebody to register the plot. When you total the receipts, the amount that will go to government, you realize it will say 500. That's an example. It means that people are willing to pay a certain price, but they don't want to pay it to state. And then we come and say, the state is reporting losses. But losses are dealt with from right pricing at the revenue level. Because you can't say, I'm going to cut the salaries of the workers. I'm going to cut the operational costs. It's difficult cutting operations costs. Because when the state, a company, gives a contract to somebody and the contractors are saying, we'll charge this, and you don't have a choice, you pay for them to deliver the service. Are you getting me? So largely, profitable businesses get their problems solved at the pricing level.
Right. Do you feel then, and I'll get to the bit about privatization, which some people have spoken of, but because you touched on salaries, let me also bring in this bit. Of course, we've been told that with the state-owned enterprises and their heads, up to about 30% is going to be cut from their salaries. That is the heads, okay? Has that started, first of all? I need to know. Has that started? Are they already, getting, let's say, 70% of what they would ordinarily earn? And then again, shouldn't we, as some have suggested, shouldn't we be looking at paying, I don't know whether to say the generality of staff, but at least the heads, those in administration and the boards of specific SOEs based on their performance? Because in other jurisdictions, it applies. You know that in the UK, in the US, there has been uproar, even in COVID times, about what some heads were getting. Even private entities like Apple, you get it. So I want your take on these two. First of all, have the cuts, the 30%, are they already going?
I am included. So I would say it is expected, I think, end of this month. The time the policy was announced, it was towards end of month already. So the announcement and implementation will take place. Maybe, I wish I can verify from Ministry of Finance.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But we are looking at something around the end of this month.
Exactly. I think so.
So it may start kicking in together with the e-levy.
I'm saying this, maybe. I'm saying this because my last salary as per my alert didn't see the cuts. Are you getting me? So it means, these ones you implement system to get a deduction achieved. Right. So I'm waiting for an alert to be able to say it started. But it's something that is being implemented. Okay. Now, the next issue, if you take the salary cut, I think you are also talking about the salary levels, right?
Yes. So if you look at entities, for example, the worst performing entities, state-owned enterprises, can we ensure, in a bid to sort of incentivize even the leadership or the work there, the better you perform, the more your salary will appreciate, and the worse you perform, the worse your salary will also go. Okay. Can we put in place such measures to bring about some efficiency and effectiveness?
I agree with you. I'm advocate of hard work, good pay. And if you're not working hard, then your pay should reflect it, or you are fired.
Should we, or are we going to implement something like that as far as ISO is?
That depends. When you are dealing with a bucket of entities like that, you would say entity by company or entity by entity. You want to say, let's implement incentive-based salary structure for the chief executives. That is what you're talking about. Can we, as a country, really live with, let's say, a bonus pay where you say, Ghana Gas, the chief executive, if you're able to achieve this, we give you, that's your base pay.
You have a target.
Exactly. We set a target, this is your base pay. And then when you are able to achieve that, we'll give you $2 million. Just like his counterpart. That's a certain private companies do. Can we live with it? So it all.
So $2 million in our context may be a bit far-fetched. It may be big, but if maybe someone were looking at,
the counterpart is looking at,
why are we even doing dollars? Let's do CDs. So maybe if you are able to achieve this target, we'll give you a bonus at the end of the year of about 100,000 CDs or 150,000 CDs. I believe that is something that Ghanaians can, looking at the overall profitability and what that enterprise may be contributing to the state's kitty.
But there's a general discussion, okay? It's a good thing to do, to link. Generally, that is what has been studied, that salary as a motivation should be tied. Salary is not a motivation, but we should tie salaries to performance. I always agree with that, and I do not agree with somebody's pay is high on the just basis of saying this person, the pay is high. I say the pay he takes, we should exact performance that matches the pay. Are you getting me?
Right.
So to the extent that we can, through the institutional restructurings we are doing. The SIGA, the board management, alignment of oversight. And so through this that we're doing, we will begin to interrogate these matters in that context. I'll cite an example of what we're doing. Maybe before end of next month, you'll see for the first time a ranking of the state enterprises performance. Let me put it, specified entities performance, a ranking of them. And the ranking is based on performance contract design.
Okay.
Those that comply and are able to achieve targets set in the performance contract and innovation.
So this is something in the offing?
In the offing, yes.
When are we looking to, from the next time we have an evaluation of the state-owned enterprises?
No. A tentative date has been set for 27th May to publish.
27th May, coming
yes,
27th May.
Yes,
right.
Work has advanced. We want to turn it into an award scheme where the first is awarded.
Right. So let's quickly look at the.
But I'm saying that frame. When you do, then you will be able to attach incentive to.
We'll see how that pans out. But let's talk about the politicization of the boards of these state-owned enterprises. That also happens to be a bit problematic. People say that it's always political party. If blue wins, blue fills the boards with. And of course, we know how it is done. In this country, when one political party wins, those on boards know that presence on the board, Yamutu, it is game over. You will soon be replaced, and it's a whole new setup. So we don't have the benefit of institutional memory, people who have been there, done that, and who have that capacity. How do you hope to deal with this? Because it's still thriving. Must it be politics as usual?
I'm happy you put the whole issue in the right context. It's my worry, personal worry, that these CEOs, as I see them driving performance, okay, and doing turnaround of their entities into profitability, will they be kept to do their work as they perform? I do not know. Are you getting me? But I think we should reach that as a people, we should reach that level where when somebody performs, the person is kept in position. Are you getting me?
Right.
When somebody doesn't perform, the person is removed from position. And so that performance determines who occupies what position. I think as a conversation, and from the viewpoint of the current president, that is what he is looking at, and all the institutional alignment he's doing. And what also gives me comfort is the fact that the appointees from board level to management, that is the CEOs, you look at their profile, they are very driven people, okay, and are working so hard to turn around these institutions. When they turn these institutions into profitability, what happens next?
Right.
Will they be cheered and kept in position? I don't know.
So we're going back to the point about incentivization. That must be done. Right.
But the political twist is what, would they be maintained? That is the question. But I think largely from what we've observed, people that are doing well are just there. That is something we should...
Can you name one or two enterprises where people who have done well from maybe a previous regime are still at post?
I can name VRA, I can name BOST from energy. You know, I was a deputy minister of energy.
Right.
And
but BOST has a new MD, and it's interesting you bring in BOST. So I want you to address two quick things.
But there are a lot. TDC, I can talk about a lot of them.
Right.
State House.
In about 3 minutes, we have to end this conversation.
Okay.
But I want to quick look at our oil sector entities, BOST, TOR, the GNPC, for example. Yeah. But the GNPC, I've forgotten whom, but mention was made in recent times that until the GNPC, for example, is able to take care of its debts, it shouldn't be looking at, funding some of the things that it's been doing. I mean, we've seen the GNPC on the Black Stars, government taking loans and all of that. Let's focus on the GNPC. when we do these to our state-owned enterprises, and then they are unable to even, see to their day-to-day running, not to talk of making a cost, are we not, as a state, the same ones? And in this instance, it is not Benjamin Akakpo sitting here as an individual. It is the state dipping its hands into the coffers of these entities, and then these entities not being able to meet their financial obligations. How do we resolve that?
The situation must be seen in the larger context. State owns this enterprise. State needs some situation, some money or something. State needs it because it has to undertake a certain obligation to the public. Options, tax, turn to market to borrow. Are you getting my point?
Or take it from an entity like the GNPC, but also end up crippling it.
No, but the state owns it. The state owns it. So my understanding of such situations is the fact that if myself, Joseph Kujo, I have a company and I need money, and the options open to me are to borrow from the market and I'm not getting loan, I will go to my company and take money. Every private person does it. It's a savvy thing. It is also even the motivation to be entrepreneurial. Are you getting me?
Right.
So unless the laws do not permit, like if I say,
so it is okay.
It should be done within the context of the law.
Okay.
If the law so permit, state owns an asset.
Even when we see the likes of the GNPC suffering the way they do,
no,
you feel it's okay?
What I'm saying is that two things I will say. If it is done within the law, and it is also done within the context of not collapsing the state entity, why not?
Right.
That is the context I will look at it.
All right, so just to wrap the conversation in maybe some 30 seconds, we've heard the likes of Kwame Pianim say that some of these entities that are not performing should be privatized. In some 30 seconds, what's your quick take on that as we wrap this conversation?
I share his thoughts on privatize, but not on those that are not doing well. Listen to this. It's a street wisdom that the one that is selling an asset shouldn't sell the asset when it is bad. Even you, when you are selling your car and the fenders is broken, what will you do? You know that when you sell it with the fenders broken, it will give you a very bad price. But when you fix the fenders and sell, it will give you significantly good price. Are you getting my point?
Right.
The one who is rearing even goat knows that if I want to go and sell, I have to fatten it a bit. You don't sell your asset. If you are selling a house, you tell me if it is dilapidated, you will go and sell in that state. So the same thing, selling a company, when it is terribly bad, you sell, you don't get value. Okay? So his statement, privatize, should be those that are performing and are not playing critical role in the economy.
Okay.
To create some checks and balances in there, privatize them. And that is why previous government, Kufuor government, GCB Bank is on the market, GOIL is on the market, SIC on the market. They were, unless you can go to the market, you can be privatized for value when you are doing well. MTN came to market at a time when profitability and prospect were very high, and then you extract value. That is the context we sell assets.
Well, we'll have to look at this moving forward. The suggestions have been made. But thank you so much for joining the conversation, Mr. Kujo. And we wish you the very best at Post.
And thank you for your interest in the state enterprises.
Right.
Let's sustain the conversation.
Right. And that has been our conversation on state-owned enterprises right here with Joseph Kujo, the Minister for Public Enterprises.